Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Love Human Be Spirit. Oh, it's just the two of us. I love it when I get to say that, but we're still just doing and rolling with our individual episodes where these dynamic duos coming at you. How are you today, Monique?
I'm good. Yeah, it is just the two of us. I wonder how long this will keep on this roll. Um, we'll see. TBD, everyone. But it's been fun for now. And when we've gotten to connect like this, and life's been lifing, So it's not been as easy for us to connect and record, I think, as much as we want to, maybe. So it's really awesome when we get to.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
we're happy to be back doing that. Because this is an episode that we had the idea to do a little bit ago, right? I'm not the time person. I don't know how long ago, but I feel like we've been sitting on it for a moment, trying to like get around it because we realized we don't have this episode in our list of episodes, and maybe we should. Today we're going to talk about what the fuck is human design, though, right? Like, what the fuck is it, though, really?
Exactly.
This human design, this system, this modality, these words that are weird. We're going to talk about that because we don't have a What is Human Design episode, we realized, and we're a human design podcast, and we feel like it's time.
Yeah.
Feel like it's time, right?
Maybe we have our arms wrapped around it a little more, right? As we're living our lives and experiencing what it's like to be in these energetic bodies. But, when you brought this to our attention, you're like, wow, we've never done one on what the fuck human design is. And I was just like, yep, that's our next one. It's going to happen, right? And
Yeah.
I think that we're going to have a more comical way to share it than maybe we would have when we started this. I cannot believe over 2 years ago.
Right.
Literally, oh my God,
Right.
wait, today is the day. We're recording on 4
Get
4.
the fuck out of here.
No, it is. We're recording on 4424, and we released our first episodes on 4422.
Oh my God, I just
What?
got goosebumps.
Look at us.
Look at
We're going to
that.
see. So look how aligned this is for us to be sharing what the fuck
Oh.
is human design 2 years later.
Yay, Team Non-Sacral.
We have
Oh
all the
my God.
53
I can't
energy and none of the 42. Right?
all the 53 though. Holy shit. I can't believe it's the day. I do remember that it was 4/4/22.
Yes.
Amy, we're so silly. We didn't realize that till just now.
You know what? Things come to us when they're meant to. That way we can celebrate live with all of our listenership. So here
This
we
is the
are.
perfect episode for today then. It's a great time to finally get into what is human design. I think we are right on point. Oh wow, that's funny. Sorry listeners, we're having real time things right now happening, but that's incredible. What is human design? You would think this would have been our first episode though. I mean, not for nothing. Like my one line is like, why wasn't this the first episode that like, we wanted to do? That's so strange.
And my three
Um,
line, it never came to me. Nope.
no. Instead, it's our 83rd, fourth, fifth episode. I don't know what number we're on, you guys.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's an episode in our 80s, which is fine. Maybe we'll pin it so people can find it easier.
I like
Maybe.
that. Can you do that? I don't know. We'll find out.
I think so. I think we can. Maybe. On Spotify, I can probably because that's all I use. I don't know about the Apple platform, but we'll see. Um, so what is human design, Amy? What the fuck is human design? When somebody asks you that, how how do you respond to that? What do you feel like the most supportive answer is for that? Let's do a short answer first. What is your short answer? Do you
It's
have a short answer?
it's an archetypal typing system that is not based on subjective answers to questions. It's very
Oh,
definitive. I
a
need
good answer.
3 pieces of information, and what gets taken from that is what you chose for yourself at birth, which I like to lovingly refer to as your owner's manual. How you're meant to make decisions, how you're meant to operate in the collective, what your strategy is, and everything. Something like that.
Oh, that's a good answer. Not something like that. That is excellent. I kind of want you to say the first part again because I've never said those words to another.
It's
That's
it's
that's
an
good.
Yeah, an
Archetypal.
archetypal typing system that's not
System.
based on the way you would subjectively answer questions.
That's not based on subjective.
And
Yeah,
here's
answers.
why. Because I've done all those and I love them. I've
Uh-huh.
done the Myers-Briggs, I've done the DISC, I've done the Enneagram. You answer
Sure.
questions based on where
Sure.
you are, but
hmm
you can also manipulate them so you can get the answer.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've done both. So,
Right.
oh, I want to be
Absolutely.
all high vibe. I'm only going to answer these in a really high vibe so I can get the best result possible. That's not
Right.
a realistic answer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And I think we've all done that.
yeah, and our design is our design from birth into perpetuity. It does shift with the transits, which I think is so supportive to understanding our shifts. It does
Right.
shift based on like when we, Saturn return, Chiron, Uranus opposition, all of those things
hmm
get factored in, which we know just even with just regular daily transits, we're like, what the fuck is going on? Why do I feel this way? I just think it's supportive to helping give an explanation to some of those. That another typing system, you would have to go and answer the questions based on where you are right there to see if something shifted. I'm not
Right.
diminishing any of them. I just feel like this one for me has a lot more oomph to it.
hmm
That's what I say.
I was gonna say something like that too. When you said that noise, it's funny. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
what's your
I like
short
that.
answer? Do you have a short answer?
I know, right?
Okay.
Not as short as yours, I don't think. But when somebody asks me, like, what is human design? Like somebody out in the wild asks me, like, what is it? And I answer, I usually say something like it is a guide or a way to understand our energetics, our human energetics. It's an energetic roadmap or a way to, like, you're wired like this is usually what I say to somebody, and I'm wired like this, and if you and I are both trying to do something the same way, one of us may short circuit. Like something might wire out, because we're not necessarily wired to do things the same way, and we're often taught in this world to very much do things a certain way to get the result, be that money, happiness, partnership, whatever. Um, and so I say that that's usually what I say, something like that, that it's a guide to understanding our energetics and being able to support that for ourselves and our loved ones in our lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes I say it's if a science and I say it's as if astrology and science had a baby. That's another way I like
I
to
like
say it.
that. Yeah.
And yeah, and then I know that we have, although we haven't had an episode that is what the fuck is even sign. I know we have used words around that, like blueprint, like
Mhm.
roadmap, like owner's manual. You and I have both interchangeably along the time we've made this podcast used those words, weaved those words into our talking about it. And I think all of those words I like all of those words. I like using them. I think it's like a visual way to understand um what we're talking about here. And yeah, sometimes I say it's like a circuitry board too, like an electricity circuit board, like this one needs to be on here, this one's off, like da da da. And like, but again, I'm inner vision, picturing stuff visually is helpful for me to talk about it. And like I think that it's just everything gets pictured up here as I like say the words. So that's usually what I say. Something that's my short answer.
And the other thing that I think is different, there's multiple things, but the words conditioning and how you can see where that comes from and how that can dilute what you chose for yourself in your design. I've never contemplated that with another modality. I've
Mm-hmm.
never contemplated how out of alignment I am based on really how I meant to be showing up, what I chose for myself to be showing up. I never contemplated the conditioning that's almost stifling my ability to show up authentically in the design that I chose. And this one's in your face, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
with like every turn, which is great because
Yeah.
I think the theory is, and remember, all of this is up for experimentation and your own um, interpretation. But I've never been able to look at it any ways that I've described myself of saying, oh, that's what I chose. How can I get back to that? How can I
Mm-hmm.
let go of all the things that have happened, not from a place of victimhood, but to really realize it's not serving me so that I can be the very thing that I did choose, which, by the way, for my design as a manifester is going to empower the most aligned peace, which is what I'm meant to be feeling. And noticing all the years that I spent in a lot of anger. I mean, for years, Monique, and I've said this, the emotion I could quickly go to was anger. Boom, that
Right.
one I had locked
Right.
in, and you just can't make this shit up. It's so real.
Yeah,
Um,
we get shown that all the time now, don't we? I mean, all the time. It's crazy. And like, one could argue because in the back of my mind, I hear people that not people, because I don't think anybody listening to this is like a skeptic, quote unquote. I think the people listening to us are people that wanting to learn. But I could hear people like back here somewhere saying, maybe questioning something like, well, if you believe this so like strongly, right? Because it makes sense to you and you've been shown this, but you're also like drenched in it, right? This is now the lens that you see the world in all the time, right? I mean, I do. I'm talking to me when I say you, but I could say like, and you could argue like that clouds your ability to maybe see in other ways, right? But what I do think that this system does, it and why I would argue like against that back is it just exists. And I really got to see that with my daughter because there wasn't any like showing her like what is a projector or teaching about that. Like that's what I was learning it. I was starting to like, but when I understood it, started to understand things, and then I saw because she was quite young when we first started learning this. She was 4, right? Or 5. 5. I can do math.
yeah.
And young enough for me to see, how close that is to your design and to just see it, like see it playing. And I don't know. I just feel like there's an element, like you said, of like you can't really make it up. Like there's no I knew things about my daughter, like that she was sensitive and um affected by things maybe in ways that like other kids didn't seem to be. um and but then learning design, but seeing design on her allowed me to really be like, it's just not like it doesn't it is so much about a remembrance of what we are, what we came in as. That's what the system really does, which I do think is maybe the goal of all the systems. But like you said, this one seems to get you there in this really in your face way that you can't uh necessarily fight against.
Yeah. I mean, there's no subjectivity to it, right? Like
Yeah.
when we input the data, our birth time, and some people don't know their birth time, which is why there's the
Hmm.
birth chart range. There are ways that we can
Hmm.
align to what feels the closest to how they, feel about themselves.
Hmm.
But you can't really mess with that data to
Hmm.
manipulate a different
Yeah.
outcome. I mean, think about when you and I were in Santa Fe and just the epiphanies you were having at how close you were to being a manifester.
Yeah. Oh
You're
my
like,
God.
man, I'm
Yeah.
so glad I didn't choose that path, right? You were like, that is not what I signed up for. And I love it. Holly Marie said on a podcast episode recently when she was talking about the emotional reframe. God, if you haven't listened to that one, anybody that has emotional authority,
Mhm.
holy hell. But she was just like, it's not like you showed up to the birthing center and be like, oh man, I got that one. There's
Right.
no victims here. Okay. We chose this. And I just think that
Right.
that offers a lot more acceptance and
Hmm.
ownership. Like,
Hmm.
okay. And
Yeah.
so then whenever you have the information in front of you, it's so affirming and yet can be very confronting, a word that we've been using a lot
Hmm.
lately now, haven't
Oh
we?
God, yeah. Haven't we? Yeah, I also going back to like the energetic part of the answer too, is like we know that everything is energy, right? That's the science part of this. That's the beautiful scientific piece of this system, is that everything interacts in this world in this like energetic way, and we are a part of this world and of that energy and of that, and when while there are other ways to, of course, many other ways to remember that we're all a part of something, right?
Oh,
Human design kind of,
100%.
what
I said,
did you say?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's so many ways that we can remember that. What I enjoy about design is that it takes it back to that place of like understanding the energetics of the interactions, whether that's me alone by myself, whether that's me out in the world with all the other people around, whether that's me in a one-on-one, whether that's me and my kid, but it's like this understanding of the energetic exchange that's happening. And I feel like that's not something that there are a lot of clear words around otherwise. Like, unless you are into science and you have a lot of those words for it, which I don't. Um, and I do feel like it's something that we innately understand as well, but we just don't necessarily always have the words for it. And that's another thing that I think that human design is. I think it's a wording system around a lot of the feelings that we all have and experience and know. Like, we know the feeling of, the feeling of not being necessarily understood because your aura is closed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
um
Can't make that shit
we
up.
we know that these feelings, but we didn't necessarily have words, right, for them. And that's another thing that I think human design is. I think it's a collection of vocabulary that can facilitate our ability to talk about our wiring,
I love that.
our,
Yes.
otherwise we're struggling for some kind of um understanding, and we can't even talk about it because we don't have the words. I couldn't talk about some of the themes that I felt around, like, that, around being a projector, before I had these words. I couldn't talk about them. I didn't know what they were. And I'm not saying I couldn't have got there some other way, but this was like real clear, real quick, gave me words for things that I could quickly place in my whole lifespan of experiences that, like, made sense, but didn't make sense, like, were happening in my life, but I couldn't even begin to start explaining it or trying to, because I didn't have the words. And this is a, like, whole, verbiage of wording that we get to use to describe that. We get to almost like redefine words like emotional and non-emotional, right, when we talk about this, and understanding amplification and absorption and penetrating, and all of these words that we use. Repelling, right, is protective, mysterious, enveloping. These are all words that, like, I don't know, give us a way to explore ourselves in a way that makes it more understood, at least for me, like, that can make my mind understand some of the feelings I've had in my actual body a lot of my life.
Yeah. I mean, just recognizing each of the 5 different org types and the role that they're meant to play in the collective, seeing the power that that role holds, and acknowledging that any one of us have likely tried to fill all 5 of those roles, even at
Right.
the same time, right? Like lots
Mm-hmm.
of spinning, plates going on, and how incredibly unrealistic and unbelievably unhelpful trying to do them all is. And
Yeah.
just that gives a whole new language to stay in your fucking lane, right? It just gives
Right.
a whole I mean, the modalities, like I've heard some skeptics, and that's okay. I lovingly challenge any skeptics as to why it's okay that we operate on a calendar and a time that was placed on us by someone else, but we just take it as the law. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because it was in place before we were brought into this 3D experience. So we find a lot of acceptance as to things that were already in place, and we challenge
Mm.
new things. And by the way, the only way that we continue to evolve are birthing of new things. And this
Mm-hmm.
happens to be one of the newer things that it came out in 1987 that gives language to a lot of older modalities with just new nuances layered in. I mean, it brings in Western astrology. Okay. I mean, that was around before us. Thank you very much. So we
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of respect for that modality. The I Ching, the chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, and then that modern science. I mean, I don't know shit about the fact that we have 64 codons, but I do know the codons have something to do with like a stream of DNA that creates something. Okay. And I'm okay with not knowing the rest of that. Hello, 3 line here speaking. But I do see the energy of 64 gates mirroring some of that energy of the 64 codons. And so it's not like there's anything super mysterious. These are modalities that have been around,
Mhm.
you know? And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
the skeptics are like, oh, it's just another thing. It's like, but could it offer you something?
Yeah.
And if they're not ready for it, that's okay too, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely 100% that believe that that is true too. Human design finds the people that are ready to find human design. I don't think that's an accident at all. I know it wasn't for me or you. And I just know in the people that I've spoken to, no, it's not for everybody, right? It's not for everybody. I mean, I think it's for everybody, but it might not be for everybody. Um, I believe there's something so big to be learned from the system, but that's just my personal feelings, and but I do think that I've been shown how certain people are drawn to it. Certain people are here to find it and then ask certain questions about it, and um, I know that I don't know. For me, like I said, the one of the biggest gifts that human design has given me is words around things like that. And that's been huge for growth. And like you said, things don't I love what you said about it's a newer system and newer things get challenged
So
more than older
much.
things. And that's so accurate. And fine, like I don't it's good. Like believe whatever you want to believe. But if you hear the words human design or like you hear about it and you're interested, that's probably on purpose, I think, too. Because I know for me when I first heard the wording, it was that for me. I was like immediately intrigued. And I was like, I gotta learn more about this. And then when I heard the first projector thing, it felt like I was remembering something that I already knew for me. And that's I don't know, that's other level for me. That's not something I've ever experienced with anything else. It felt like I was like, and I've always had an inkling that like kids knew something that we didn't. Like I always felt that way the older I got. I also felt like when I was a kid, like I knew things that I not don't necessarily feel so certain about now. But I remember being a kid and thinking like these grown-ups are stupid. They do not know what the fuck is up. Like I do. I remember having like maybe that was just projector child thoughts, but now having a kid and seeing learning that human design really is here for the kids, right? So that we can support these next generation of humans in an energetic way that we were not privy to. We were not privy to be supported energetically. The system wasn't there then.
Right.
Um, but now it is, and we get to do that. And just the fact that it is for the kids and that it does kind of point to almost learning from them a little bit, because in like I said, in my case, there's been many times where I've looked to Mia to kind of observe what a natural projector looks like,
Mhm.
because I've lost some of that for myself, right? I've put on a million attires that were generator and manifesting generator and manifester and reflector. I've put on all those suits, right? Those clothing options. And so it's like sometimes hard to, but it's not that hard to find for her. It's right there. It's on the surface still. And I love that the system points to our children as almost like what it's for, but like also to learn from them. I love that. I love that there's an element of, just watch the kids
Yeah.
when you know this stuff and you'll
Right.
see.
Yeah, I think it offers that ability to drop that hierarchical bullshit saying that we know more than
Mm-hmm.
they do. I've said for years that my kids are my greatest teachers, and they continue to prove that for sure. Learning their designs just makes so much sense to me. And,
Yeah.
we have episodes on that about, how life-changing that has been for both of us. Um, I'm going to out myself here, and I recently started therapy, and I am 51 fucking years old. Literally just had my birthday a little over 2 weeks ago, where I got to see my beautiful friend Monique in her real life environment back in Miami. But I've just, last year was a year. It took a toll, and My beautiful son called me out on some things, and God, my greatest teacher right there. And I
Mhm,
just decided it was time I do something about that. And what she shared with me in my very first session, that people come to therapy either from inspiration or desperation. And I don't think design is that different. Look at 2020, the year the fucking world shut down, and
mhm,
so many people found design that year.
mhm,
And you have to wonder if it was one of those two reasons why. And
mm,
I just think all of us in our deepest, quietest moments have this curiosity to understand ourselves better.
mm,
Even if it's just merely to affirm what we're thinking, feeling, and believing, or if
mm,
it's to make sense of a breakup or a job loss or a death, any of those really life-changing things that can hit us and feel really hard. Who cares the reason why? But if it lands for you, like this has landed for you and I and so many others that we know,
mhm.
it offers us, as we've said multiple times, the opportunity to be so much more compassionate and understanding, not only for ourselves, but for others. And I think the world is in
Yeah,
great need of that.
I love what you said. I love how you put that. That was really beautiful. And yeah, and I don't really have too much more to add to that. I think that you really said that really lovely. I do think for the world also. Like I think that that's how that goes for ourselves, then for our people, and then the world. Like
Mhm.
that's, we and understanding ourselves from this place of curiosity and compassion, and having words to use and all that just really allows us to take a different path there, that through that, to take a different path. And I believe what you said is true. I do think that every human, in our quietest moments, wants to understand ourselves, and wants to wants to like ourselves more,
Mhm.
right? Like wants, and I guess that comes with understanding. But yeah, it's really quite incredible that a system can, like what we're saying, bring this massive amount of like change for ourselves, within ourselves, for ourselves, and not even change, I guess, growth or remembrance or better words. But
Mhm.
um
Change
yeah,
is inevitable, though. There is some change,
yeah,
but it's
I
just
guess so.
undeniable, right? Because
Yeah.
as you learn some of the parts and the layers and layers, even if you stay with the very just basics, which is
Hmm.
also beautiful. I say every time I am
Yep.
gifted and blessed to give a reading, look, if you just knew your type, strategy, and authority, I'm telling you what, if all of us knew that, our 3D
Right.
experience would be so different. It would just be so different. Um,
Right.
but there is change that's involved. And so if somebody is uncomfortable with change, then this might not be something that they're going to let themselves dig into. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I think one of the most pivotal things, if we're going to talk specifically about what the fuck is human design offered me the opportunity to really understand how I am best meant to make decisions. And
Mm,
I have yet to find a person who was taught to make decisions from their head. That's what we
yeah.
were all taught. And not one of us is meant to make
Right.
a decision from that place. And so that is such a game changer. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so then what can human design do for me? I've heard somebody in their
Hmm.
little
Hmm.
sassy attitude. I'm like, well, how do you make decisions? I mean, that's where I'll go. That's
Yep.
where I'll go.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. That's such a clutch part of what is human design. It's a decision making. It's an inner authority navigation system, is what it is too. It's an inner navigation system, right? We use like a GPS on our phone to find our way around town, and this is a thing we can use inside of ourselves for sure. A decision making, because we all have one. We all have a decision making mechanism or process that comes naturally to us, and we don't get taught that. We don't get to explore that with curiosity, without knowing this really, when what we know. I mean, maybe we do, but in my experience, most of us are taught quite the opposite. Because you and I have gone into how I was very much taking my time making decisions, and overthinking and waiting too long, and not trusting myself enough to just do it just because it felt right or whatever. And you were not taking your time to make decisions. You were pulling all the triggers in all the moments in the moment, right? And that is very counterintuitive to how we're naturally designed. But we learned that in some way.
Mhm.
Somebody taught us that, or we learned that that was better, or whatever. And so yeah, that's a huge part of what the fuck is human design. It's an inner navigation system that allows you to make decisions in a way that feels natural for you,
Yeah.
natural and good for you, and in a way that allows you to rely on yourself in a way that's pretty incredible as well, where you don't have to look towards the outside a million different places for an answer, because that I know I was doing. I was for sure guilty of that. Anytime that I had a decision to make, I probably knew in that moment right away what it should have been. But then as soon as I start talking and like trying to get other opinions, it's really easy. Now I understand that for my projector aura to absorb all that, and it gets cloudy really quickly, right? And then it's hard to get back to that place. I can't always get back to that place for me if I miss that moment, right? So yeah, it's and like vice versa, you were like gypping yourself out of information that was yet to come for you because you were making the decision too soon, because you didn't trust that timing is different for you because of your process. Because why would you trust that? Nobody's ever told you that's okay, right? Or any of that. But yeah, decision making. And that's a, another key way that we get to support our children. I'm getting to show Mia how to like use that mechanic for herself. And that's huge. I mean, life is a series of decisions, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's just the whole point. We're just here to make a bunch of decisions and get it right, wrong, up, down, left, right. I don't know. But
And
have
letting
to be
that
able to,
be letting that be part of the experiment and
the
not
human experience. Yeah,
God,
absolutely.
not being so freaking hard on ourselves. I feel like that we're just all so hard on ourselves because somebody has said that here's the way it's meant to be done, and you're
Right.
not doing it right. Right. So, like, I think, I mean, for my own reflection, I think I was making very fast decisions because someone had told me that that was sharp, right? Like, man, you're strong and you're sharp and you're quick on your feet, and I was
Right.
applauded for that. So heaven forbid I take my fucking time, then what are they going to say about me? When in
Right.
reality, it does not matter what somebody else thinks about me. What matters is what I think about me. And the more that I get to know me, the meest me that I can be, the more of myself I can be with everyone else. And that is the role that I am meant to play. And I hear that a lot. What am I supposed to be doing? Well, you know what? A lot of your design will point to that for us, but your type and your strategy play a big role in who you are and what you're meant to be doing, or being. I really want you, Monique, to just be, I
Yeah,
really
me too.
want that for you. And I want to, there are things that I want for myself. And when we can, bear witness to someone's design, we can help them unfold that for themselves. And I just don't see a world where that's not beneficial. I just don't. I haven't, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, you and I definitely was over a couple of things when we went to Santa Fe, but it's like, I will stand very firm and do not use your design to be a fucking asshole. I'm being dead serious, like, but we could all say that. Oh, you can use your, I don't know, any number of things.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah, anything that you can put a label on as an excuse to be an asshole. Well, we're not going to let human design be one too, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to call you out no matter what your design is, when push comes to shove. But like when somebody, and I think we both probably been asked a lot, what is human design? I would lovingly say it's the one thing that landed in my life in such a way there was no way I could turn my back on it. It was so not
Yeah.
only affirming, but just expansive. And,
Mhm.
I'm only 5 years in. What the fuck
Mhm.
is gonna be coming up? The more that I let myself play and experiment with it. And, it's kind of like we went to school for 1,000 years. and didn't think anything of the fact that it took so long to get to this, like this benchmark or that one. Well, that's what's happening when you're in your design too. You're uncovering things like, we're not available for our north node until so long, and just things like that are in your
Mm,
design. And so there's things to look forward to. There are benchmarks, there are, and things that unlock for us, things that we get to let go of. And I just think all of those things are just a beautiful way to kind of create the story of our lives. And the uniqueness. I mean, you guys, this one blew me away. One gate activation, just one,
mhm.
has 1,080 different ways of being shown.
Wow.
There are 64 gates, people.
Wow.
64 times 1,080 is a very big number that I don't want to be.
Because it could be like, because the gate is in a certain line, and because it's in a certain planet, and because it's like all of
Tone,
that
color, base,
color,
all of
and
those
like,
things. Yeah.
yeah,
So
what,
just like
right.
we talk about our main
Wow.
sun gate, my main sun gate's gate 36 in line 3. And so I've got the sun, the gate, and the line expression. Guess what,
Yeah.
guys? There's a whole lot more. You know,
Right. Right.
is it
Because,
in a defined center and an
yeah.
undefined center? What's the color? What's the tone? What's the base? All is it in a channel? Like all of those things add emphasis. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
when we think, oh, well, like comparison, I'm so over comparison, you guys, it does not serve us in the least. Not
Hmm.
one of us is truly identical. Not even identical twins are identical, right? Because the moment they come out, they're conditioned differently. Okay.
Yeah.
And depending on how many minutes apart, because we learned with my grandson, 17 minutes later, whole different energy type. Hello, whole different ball game, whole different life he was going to lead for himself. Right. And so, 17 minutes can happen between the birth of twins. That can be two very different individuals. So
Sure.
I want to highlight the uniqueness
Yeah.
because this is why comparison doesn't serve us. This is why getting on somebody's feed and like, oh my God, they're so wonderful. Why do I feel like shit? Well, you're seeing the highlight reel, people. You're not seeing the real. And design, there's nothing to hide. There's
Yeah.
nothing, you know?
Yeah. And I also, I love that. I love so many things you said there. There was something you said at the very beginning, and I can't quite remember. So I'm not going to ask you to remember either, but we can listen to the episode again and hear it. But you said something really beautiful right at the start of that rant that you just went on. But what I wanted to add is also this element of um, this focus on authenticity that design kind of brings us back to, because like you just said, there isn't anywhere to hide, and there isn't, it's not about any performances or being this way or fixing this thing or doing that thing. It's really just about stripping down to the authentic expression of ourselves that we all have, that we're all here to have as humans, that we all deserve to have, and we are deserving of being and breathing and all those things because we got here, right? We chose to be here, and we're here, and that's it. Good. But then life can make it hard to show up in that authentic human way all the time. But I much prefer it. I much prefer when people show up that way, and I much prefer when I show up that way. And this system has brought more people into my awareness that also um, are more committed to showing up authentically, I think. And what that even means. I don't know if you have to be, I say committed to, because I feel like it is a challenge sometimes in life
Oh,
to just naturally show up. And like, I mean, if I could, I would show up everywhere, all vulnerable, like with my heart all open and shit, like I like to be. And but that's not safe. You can't do that all the time, right? In all the spaces. That doesn't feel safe anyway. But design has given me these um this like reassurance that it can be. And there are people that are also committed to that, to living in this authentic human experience of this form, because that can mean, like you used earlier, that can mean confronting things. Confronting things, I said it weird. Confronting things, um that can mean crying in front of people, that can mean taking responsibility and accountability for your yelling or your anger or your bitterness through your passive aggressive comments, or that can mean all of that. And that's being authentic, but that's not always what is chosen. And I think that human design makes it easy to choose that over and over and over, for me
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah. No, that was beautiful. I 100% agree with that. I like the way that you laid that out. That has me having some of my own reflections, right? Like spend some time with a reflector. Hmm.
Yeah,
I'll
I
never
love
forget.
reflectors. Can
I
we just
know.
let's give
I'm like,
reflectors some love? Because I was talking to Simone and we love her. We've had her on an episode
yes.
here. Go back and listen to it. She is a gem in this world. But every time I have a discussion with her, anytime we chat, anytime we talk, um, she is incredible at allowing me to see myself like for like through her. And I think it's me seeing her, but it's her reflecting me, and it's this like crazy energetic thing that happens that only they can do. And that's powerful shit as well. um we don't always get the yeah, spend time with a reflector that knows that
Right.
they're
Yes.
an aware reflector,
Yes.
because I imagine that an unaware reflector, that could be confusing as well. And when I was talking to Simone about this, we were just talking about something like this recently. Like, I was asking her, like, how do you feel about being like the reflection, like for a person? Does that feel good? Like for And her immediate response was, it just depends on the person.
Mm.
Depends on the person. Because I guess parts of her are in the other as well, right? I'm guessing now I'm speaking for her, but part of it was like us seeing each other, and I'm a projector. I was recognizing her as well, but there was this crazy like feeling of resonance, like parts of ourselves were, and I don't know. I think that that's very reflector specific. I feel like that. I have two reflectors in my life, Simone and my other friend Lauren. They're the only two that know that they're reflectors that are in my life somewhat consistently. And they both immediately, when I talk to them, make me feel like I'm home or something like that. Like
Mm.
yeah, that's incredible, right? And that's just they're another example of like, talk about uniqueness, right? Like
Right.
being a lunar being, and how the whole strategy and authority process for them and what that is. But again, like I imagine being the parent to a child of a reflector and learning this, and like what that would do for how I would raise them differently, and what I would like adjust and tweak, and God, like the opportunities that would inspire maybe for that kid, right?
Mm.
And like
Yeah.
the way that would support them differently than not having than not having those words, like I said before. I mean, they're really concepts and words and understandings of things, like you said, that already exist. The planets have been there, right? We know
Yes.
we're all a part of the universe. We know that we are one beep little speck in
Yeah.
this gigantic cosmic thing that's happening. We're like the tiniest little speck. I mean, each of us even tinier, but Earth itself is a
Right.
tiny speck, right? You know all that, but this is so much more words to experiment and experience with while we're here doing that.
I
That's what the fuck human design is. I think.
I
I think
agree.
I think I think we did a pretty good job of naming some of the ways that that we would define this beautiful system that we love so much.
I mean, can you imagine, Monique, a world which I think we're moving toward, that every new beautiful human that was brought into existence, not only would they be raised knowing their design, but their parents would be deconditioning from the design they were given at birth so that they can be available for their highest vibration too. Can you imagine what this
Mm,
3D experience would be like if we could start there with all the new ones being, because
yeah,
then the theory is they would not require deconditioning or very little, and
right.
so they're showing up every day at their highest potential that they chose for themselves, and they're helping their generations,
Yeah.
conditioned from their own because we've stopped the hierarchy and we're like, really, they're our future. We've known that, but we are continuing to condition our future in the old ways that we've done things that have not proven to fucking work.
Right.
So could
That
we
makes me want to
just,
cry. Like picturing that really does make you want to cry, like happy tears, because that's really a beautiful future. And I do believe that as well, that we are working, that is happening more, but that would be a really great place to start.
yeah.
Maybe you should open up a birthing center, and every new mother that comes in, we I will projector the fuck out of them and like initiate them like I'm not supposed to into the system. Then you take it from there. It's a thought. It's a thought. No, but that's truly, all jokes aside, one of the most beautiful things I can picture.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really is, and that is, I don't know. It just seems like such a better way of doing the thing
Yeah.
than the ways that we've kind of
And
been playing with.
I feel like the last thing that I really want to say here is, I'm the older one of the two of us here, which doesn't afford me anything except for some more experience, right?
Hmm.
That's it.
Hmm.
And I didn't know about this modality for the first 45 years of my life.
Yeah,
And so I accepted the way a lot of things unfolded in my life.
me too.
And now that I have this information, guess what, guys? I still have all the other information. All of those things are still a part of me. So it's not like I am just signing off everything else, but what I'm doing is I'm using this new information to help empower, inspire, elevate, expand, all really high vibe words, all the while deconditioning from the ways that I was showing up that never felt right. But I thought that's what was expected of me. And we're all being expected to be a certain way and do certain things. And what if we all did what it was exactly aligned for us to be? How could we be more loving, supportive, not only to ourselves, but everyone else? And how could that shift the existence? That's kind of what I'm looking for. And so while these things seem weird and bizarre, and there's, sometimes it's cryptic, and to get the information you feel like you have to give, your firstborn or a limb or something like that sometimes. And yet it's still the system that I wake up thinking about, I go to bed thinking about, and has transformed some and most part, if not all parts of my life in the best possible way. So for me, that's what the fuck human design is and what it gets to be for whomever is ready to sign up for the opportunity to have those kinds of shifts and so much more.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said. Yeah, I think we did a great job of answering what the fuck human design is. And and I'm glad that it happened today, 2 years after we launched our first episode. I think that's perfect because I think we would have said a lot of different answers
Yeah,
then.
I do too.
And the textbook answer is it's the science of differentiation. And that's fine if that lands for you, but that was never going to be our definition of human design. That was never ever going to be the way that Amy and I talked about human design, because we're not that. That doesn't that doesn't explain it. That doesn't even come close to explaining it.
Nope.
Doesn't even touch on it for us. But yes, all the ways that we just described absolutely starts to touch on what the system has given us in our lives and in our experience, and what we get to do with it individually and collectively is incredibly inspiring every single day for me in
Yes.
some way or another. Like you said, it's just always about some other thing that's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
how about this thing, and learning this thing, and it's exciting, you guys, to explore ourselves in this way with
Yes.
curiosity and compassion and love and acceptance, and exploring what comes naturally to us is something that we don't self-trust, I think, too. And this is another way. Like, I can't
Yes.
trust myself. If I did what I wanted to do naturally, who knows what I might do.
Right.
And it's like, we're here to tell you that it's probably okay. You've probably just been made to feel like it's not going to be okay.
Right.
But
Yeah.
and we're here for that if you want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
let's call it there, and we hope that this offered some different words around what the fuck is human design and how to better explain that or define that. You're welcome to borrow any of our word choices that we threw around here. And please let us know if you have other ways that you describe what the fuck
Yeah.
is human design. We're
Yeah.
always open to hearing
Yeah,
it.
we'd love to hear that. And if you're somebody that's been a longtime listener, thank you. We love you. If you're brand new, thank you. We really do love you. We love each and every one of you. And if you haven't explored your own design and you'd like to hear our interpretation of what we witness, we do that every day. And it
Yep.
would, be the utmost pleasure for us to navigate that with you. So don't hesitate. We have that in the show notes, ways to reach out to both of us individually and
Yeah.
collectively. We do it together. So here we are celebrating 2 years of being on the platform. Woohoo!
Happy 2 year anniversary,
Yes,
Amy. I love
yes.
you. I
I
love
love
you
you
guys,
too.
listeners. And thank you for being on this ride with us. It means so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. All right. We love
All right,
you,
guys.
reminding you to
Love
love
you.
yourselves.
Love yourselves. Bye.
Until next time, bye for now.